This episode is brought to you by our friends at Ninja Crispi, a brand new 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer that's the ultimate cooking solution for prep, cooking, storing and cleaning.
Hello and welcome to Binge. I'm Alex Jones.
And I'm Harry Judd, and today we're joined by Robert Thorogood, who is the creator of Death in Paradise, one of the most watched TV shows out there, and he tells us how it was inspired by the death of a famous cricketer.
I never knew that. He also tries to pitch a sci-fi movie, which is always a hard sell for me. And he describes it as Groundhog Day with aliens. I'm out.
I'm so in. And has his new series set in Marlow inspired Alex to move house yet again?
Well, we have got some big news, haven't we?
We do.
We are very excited to partner with Ninja Crispi to launch their brand new 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer. This is the ultimate cooking solution for prep, cooking, storing and cleaning. And honestly, we've had a good look at this, haven't we, Harry?
Well, I've had a little go as well.
Well, it's going to change your life. We got it out of the box and they were smaller than I thought, which first of all, I love because it means you can actually store it in a cupboard when you're not using it. Most of these things are massive and they have to live on top of the counter, which I hate. So I love it for that reason.
And it's portable.
Yeah.
If you want to take it to the one show, Al.
Definitely. We eat late of an evening because obviously the one show doesn't come off air till 7:30. And I could actually take it with me. And listen to this then. We are giving you the chance to win your very own Crispi.
Yes, exciting stuff. Here's how it works. If you are a time-poor person or a busy parent, all you need to do is tell us why you really need a Crispi in your life. Why is juggling work, kids and meals chaotic in your world? Tell us why you need something that cooks faster than your ability to decide what to watch.
Whatever the reason, we would love to hear it. Send us your best I need a Crispi story. And Harry and I, along with the Ninja Crispi crew, will pick the most compelling tales. Now, all you need to do is send your stories by emailing hello@bingepodcastofficial.com, putting Crispi in the subject column. Okay, should we get a guest on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Come on then. Joining us now is a screenwriter and the mastermind behind some of the most compelling cosy crimes of our time. He's the creator of the hugely popular Death in Paradise on BBC One, but right now all eyes are on his best-selling book series, The Marlow Murder Club, which has also been adapted into a TV show, with Series 2 out now. It's Robert Thorogood.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Oh, Robert, good to see you.
Well, it's nice to be here.
And as Alex points out, you're looking very well.
Yes, I snuck away for a holiday abroad, but unfortunately, when I tan, I just keep it forever. So when I go to
Unfortunately, that's amazing.
No, because people think that writers don't work anyway.
Right.
So I go to meetings, everyone goes, "Oh, working hard, are you? Sitting out in the garden, are you?" And I go, "No, I just tan."
My
It's one of
goodness,
those things.
Robert, I spend hundreds of pounds a year on tanning drops.
Listen,
to
if
look
you
like
came from Essex, you'd have a tan like this. This is an Essex tan.
See, I thought it was... Yeah, go on.
established early on, Robert and I, that we are both from Essex.
Yep.
We went...
You're not from Essex.
You can tell from
I'm
our
from
accents.
Essex.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Since when?
Since forever, Al.
No, you said somewhere else to me.
Well, I say Suffolk now because
Oh, that's so funny. My mum...
You've always said Suffolk to me.
My
What's
mum
going
says that we come from the Suffolk-Essex borders.
Yes, Suffolk Essex, exactly.
But we have a Colchester postcode,
It's Essex.
so I say Essex.
Okay, so
Wow.
I grew up in Essex, but I went to school in Suffolk. And then when I moved to London, my mum and dad moved to Suffolk. So now, like, home is Suffolk-ish. But yeah, Robert and I went to rival schools.
That's right.
We did.
My
It's
goodness.
the joy of Wikipedia. You
Yeah.
can find
So you're
out all
both
sorts of odd
Essex
things.
boys.
Yeah.
Essex boys, yeah.
Yeah.
Hence the nice shirt on the tan.
Exactly.
See, I thought that was a Guadeloupe tan, Robert, from
No,
Death
I
in
haven't been out
Paradise, but...
to Guadeloupe. I mean, Guadeloupe is super sunny, but it also rains the whole time. The thing about the Caribbean, which I didn't know, because I was very unsuccessful before the show got off the ground. So I'd never been to the Caribbean. And when we were pitching it to the BBC and France Television were involved, and I'd keep going, in order for us to do this show, I need to go to the Caribbean. And then everyone would go, yeah, right, sure you're going to go to the Caribbean. But when I eventually got there, I discovered it rains, every day it rains. And quite often when it's always sunny as well, But if you look at a shot of Death in Paradise, particularly in the police station, in the background you'll see palm trees just whipping as the latest cyclone comes through.
Right.
And Catherine's bar blew away it's blown away at least twice for my memory. And now we just sent in the crew to build that sort of awning over where everyone sits on the outside. And it's just the strongest structure. So whenever a hurricane blows through, that structure just stands. Because a British crew have just gaffered that and cable tied it. It's not going anywhere.
Brilliant. You know, I don't know. I was telling Mum and Dad this morning that you were on the podcast. And I said, I've interviewed people from Death in Paradise. I don't know. It must be 9-10 times. Don Warrington is on the one show more than I am.
Well,
to be honest.
And so he should, not more than you, but he should be on everything all the time.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's been such a hit with BBC One audience?
Well, it's murder mystery, and we've always liked a good murder mystery. And that's kind of how I envisaged it. I wanted to get a job on Midsummer Murders.
Perfect.
So, I thought that was the greatest show that was... It wasn't actually. Jonathan Creek was the greatest show.
That was
But Jonathan Creek is run by a genius and he doesn't have other writers. So I was trying to get a job on Midsummer Murders. But because I couldn't, I thought, well, I've got to come up with my own thing.
Can we just go back to when was this in your career? How early on?
Ask my father-in-law, not early enough. So I was 35, 36-ish. So before then, I'd been working as a sort of a script reader and developing stories and hustling, but mostly being, an office angel.
But the goal was to be a writer. That was the dream.
Yeah, absolutely. To just keep plugging away. And I was totally helped by my wife, who had the most important thing in a relationship where one of you is a creative. She had a monthly salary. So she's a radio presenter. She presents on Classic FM now. But every month she was earning the money and I was just totally erratic. So the year before I got Death in Paradise off the ground, I didn't pay tax, because I just hadn't earned enough money. So I went from having nothing, but sort of pushing at the door and just really trying hard to suddenly having a show at 9 p.m. on BBC One. Without any of the intervening bits at all. It was a very strange, surreal experience.
And you said that was around 30?
I was 37 when the show went out. And I left uni at, 21, 22. So that's 15 years of hustling and just trying to keep the faith going. It's hard.
I've got to say, that is so impressive.
It's very good going.
Yeah, because I think people nowadays, or when I've experienced it going through my 20s, and I just look at friends and family members, there's so much pressure to try and achieve what you want to achieve by, let's be honest, late 20s, early 30s, but to keep going. Look,
It's like my father-in-law is in the room now.
But that's why I think it's so impressive, and I think that's something I want to remind my children, if you have a passion and you love what you do, to stick with it. And luckily, obviously, you said you had your wife's support.
Yeah, and there were clues. So when I went for... this is really too detailed, really, but when I went for jobs, I'd quite often get the job. But the problem is there isn't that much money in telly. And what's awful is there's much less money now than there was 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, when I'm talking about. So, you could sell a treatment for a couple of grand and you had to live in London, which you could just about afford to do on the outskirts. And, when I started out, a packet of fags and a travel card was £5. And you didn't do the travel card because you just fare dodged because there was no point paying for that. So that was 2 packets of fags and just travelling around the tube on, for free. So you could sort of scrabble a way through, but it was hard. And there's a bit of me that really, that sliding doors moment of, I got the show off the ground, but, what if I hadn't? It came about because there was this chap called Bob Woolmer, who was the Pakistani cricket coach.
Yes, I was going to say.
Right. So
it's surely not the same Bob Woolmer.
Yeah, the exact same Bob Woolmer. So you're a cricketer, right? Yeah. So as you remember, there was I can't remember, 2007 Cricket World Cup in St. Lucia. And Bob Woolmer, the Pakistani cricket coach, died in mysterious circumstances in a locked room in his bathroom. They found him, they had to break through the door. And it was front page news all around the world that this important cricketer had died. And I read the next day that the British police were sending out a copper to solve this crime in the Caribbean because they didn't think that the local Bill would be able to solve it. And I just went, oh my God, that's a TV show, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's absolutely a TV show. If Bob Woolmer hadn't have died, I wouldn't have had the idea. So it's that awful feeling. I met two of his nieces recently at a book event I was doing, and I felt so chastened because I've always felt a bit guilty that there was this real life tragedy that, like a vampire, I just immediately jumped on and said, what can I do with that?
Bob would probably be chuffed, wouldn't he? Thinking,
I don't know.
At least something
I never
came
met him.
out of it. I don't know.
I'm absolutely shook. Like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I remember that when Bob Woolman died. You know,
it was just a copper got sent out. And because it was the World Cup, and I was reading a lot of the cricket reports at the time, there was a Condé Nast thing, a survey that they did that week that said that St. Lucia, where he died, was the fourth most beautiful island in the world, according to their ruling. But it had the highest murder rate in the world per capita. So again, you're sort of going, oh, hang on, there's a show in this. This is a murderous.
Something.
And there's also a lovely story, which I remember, about a game of cricket in the high security prison for the murderers, where somebody hit a six. And as the guards were watching, they went up to the edge of the wall, they climbed over the wall, they then went and got the ball, then climbed back into prison so they could carry on the game of cricket. So those stories were around, and I just went, there's a show. And then I hawked it around all of the production companies in London, and they were all really positive. But they said, in effect, they said, but you're nobody. We can't get a show off the ground for somebody. You've got no TV credits. You've never worked on a show. The only thing you've got is one Radio 4 afternoon play about a mathematician. That's all I had. And I took it to Red Planet, a company run by Tony Jordan, amazing sort of big beast of the industry. He created Hustle and he created Life on Mars, wrote on EastEnders for 100 years. And he got the show over the line. I didn't have the clout to do it, but he went into the BBC and just smashed through doors and said, we're making this show. Robert's going to write it. I'm going to make it. So without him and Red Planet, the show doesn't exist because I needed him to go and punch people in the face, basically.
And was that just due to the fact he believed in it so much? Or
yeah, because he's originally a market trader. It's just like everyone else. You know what it's like in media. You can overthink it. Right, as a musician, perhaps you can say, right, we don't shoot in the Caribbean. Back in those days, going abroad was like doing a show like Ballykissangel. And Wild at Heart, maybe, which did some shots down in South Africa, but was mostly shot in England. We didn't shoot abroad. This writer's completely unknown. It's really hard to shoot in the Caribbean anyway. And Tony, I remember saying to him, all of these reasons why it couldn't be made. And Tony just went, no, we're not making a show. We're asking them to commission a treatment. That's it. $2,000, write a treatment. So we did a treatment, and then we just went step by step with the BBC all of the way, sort of going, oh, okay, that's still okay. And we sort of crept over the line that way by not thinking of the end goal, just thinking, what's the next job? The next job is come up with the characters, all of whom are named after West Indian cricketers. Oh. I got up my Wikipedia list.
Are they?
Yeah. Because I had to do it over a weekend. Because the other thing, as you know, about all, telly, is it's hurry up and wait. So you spend ages waiting. And then on the Friday, I remember Tony saying to me, right, they need a treatment. They need it like on Monday. So you have to work through the weekend, but that's normal. That's not a surprise. And I thought, I've got to come up with this, like, who are the characters? So I got up Wikipedia and I put all of the West Indian cricketers and I chose like Selwyn. We've got Dwayne Bravo in there somewhere. We've got all of these different names. Fidel, Best was where I got Fidel from.
Tino Best.
Tino Best, that's right. Yes, yeah. So I'm nicking first names and second names. And also, as perhaps you'd agree, Harry, it's a good way to work. Fast is good because you just make instinctive choices. So I came up with Camille, not named after a West Indian cricketer, and came up with Dwayne and came up with Fidel and sort of the gang. And I thought, well, we need an amazing woman, Catherine, down in the bar, and we need Selwyn, named after a cricketer. And on the Monday, I sort of handed it all in, and then that was the show. And it was sort of...
You didn't have time to think.
Didn't have time to second guess, you know. And what's strange though is that became the blueprint of what the show was. And again, you go, that was like a weekend's work. I've been thinking about it. It's not like I hadn't.
No.
I was in that territory, but it is just quick decisions, and it's quite a fun way to work.
But I mean, millions of people watch it. It's one of the most popular shows on BBC One.
Yeah.
It's a huge hit for them. I mean, last week, just under 6 million people watched it. The fourth most watched television
it's just
programme.
Strange, that, isn't it? We don't. It's hard to sort of comprehend that. And for that, I think we sort of have Ben Miller to thank, because when we did the show originally, obviously we hoped it would run and run, but after 2 seasons, Ben, who had a new family back home, said, I can't go out to the Caribbean anymore. And so we thought, well, then we'll kill you because we have no choice, because you're such an amazing actor. If we just sort of pension you off back to Croydon, then how's our new actor going to take over the show? And because Ben went back to, we killed him and we brought in Chris, it meant we suddenly started coming up with new stories based on new characters. And so luckily, because Ben left, we've had this constant revolving sort of door of different actors, which allows us to tell different stories, different leads. And so I think that's partly why we've lasted so long, because it does keep changing. It's not the same thing.
Well, congratulations, Robert.
Thank you.
What a feat.
Thank you.
That's very impressive. Now, I knew all about Death in Paradise, as you probably did.
Yeah, of course.
But the Marlow Murder Club, now this was new to me.
Right, okay.
So I started watching it.
Right.
Well, I couldn't stop, could I?
Ah, lovely.
I mean, I've got a bit of an obsession anyway with Marlow.
Righty-ho.
Because as Harry told you earlier, we were looking for a house there for a long time.
Yeah, but Marlow's not good enough, is it?
Well, do you know what happened then on the way here? What? Got on Rightmove, didn't I?
What?
We're going to see a house in Marlow.
Are you really? I can't. This is really. So let's film and record this conversation. I wonder where you're looking. Oh. How old are your kids?
3, 5, 8.
You can't go wrong. It's the place to go. And the reason why
Don't
it's
say
the
this
place
now.
to go.
My husband is furious with me. We've
Right,
literally just
so-
moved last July.
No. He'll work it out. So Katie, my wife, was obsessed. Like, we were living in London and we had to leave. Where do you go? Like, where do you go? You can go anywhere. And Katie was talking to Paul Ross,
Right.
of all people. And Paul Ross said
As
to
in
Katie...
Jonathan
Yeah, as in
Ross's brother.
Jonathan Ross's brother. And Paul said to Katie, I've done all of the research for you. You cannot do better than Marlow. And Katie went, hang on, but I've got to do the research myself. And every time Katie researched, because I'm not in control of where we live, I'm not in control of very much at home. Every time Katie did research, she'd go, God, Paul's right. Marlow's the place. It's just far enough away from London, but not too far. The schools are fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, so literally this morning, you have caused absolute chaos between myself
I'm so
and Charlie.
sorry.
Well, is this
He was
because...
like, are you joking? We absolutely love our house. I said, I absolutely love it. But I just checked because there was somebody who lives in Marlow, Chris Evans, who's been campaigning for a long time for us to live there.
Well, he campaigns that everyone should move
exactly.
there.
And I
He's
said,
a
no,
champion of the town.
We're done. We have moved. We're done.
Yeah.
And then I found this house.
When you... This is ridiculous.
I
So
know.
when are you actually going to look at it?
Yeah. And this is all Robert's fault. He's upended my life.
Okay. Yeah. I think... Yes. Well, the problem is the TV show looks amazing.
Well, it does.
See, this is the problem.
This is the problem.
Yeah. Because obviously, if the first thing I did was Death in Paradise set in Guadeloupe, as far away as you can get, when I was trying to come up with a new show, a new series of characters, still a murder mystery, still sort of fun and silly and hopefully joyous in places, I was thinking, right, if the last one was far away, where should I went, I'll just set it where I live. Because that way it's going to be really easy to do research.
Yes.
Because for this sort of a show, a Midsummer style show, a Jonathan Creek style show, you want somewhere that's quintessentially English, that's sort of got bunting down the high street, a nice bridge, a lovely church. Our vicar's just been made the local bishop, so it's an up and coming place, and it is the perfect place to kill people.
Robert, when did you write the series of books then?
So, gosh, it's an idea I came up with in 2015. I came up with it. It was going to be called with a COS, a production company in London. And we took it round all of the TV production companies because I thought I've been doing Death in Paradise for 7 or 8 years by this point, and I wanted to write a story about the amazing women who raised me. So my great aunts, my mum, all of her friends, my grandmother, who every day at 6 p.m. would have one glass of whiskey out of a cut glass tumbler. She'd have one fag every month. When I was 18, I smoked, and I'd go round to her house, and she'd go, I'll have one cigarette. She'd just have one cigarette. So these amazing, eccentric, bright, brilliant women. I thought, I want to do that. But when we took it around the television companies, they all said no. And I thought, but I did have a book deal to write Death in Paradise books. So I went to my publisher and said, look, I'm going to go right to the start. I'm going to do this as a book, and I want it to be successful enough that I can then turn it into a TV show. So I wrote it as a book, and then, lo and behold, 3 months before the Marlow Murder Club came out, I came out in January, beginning of January, end of December, Richard Osman. I don't know if you've heard of this author called Richard Osman.
Well, the titles are very close.
Well, it's not just the titles. His Elizabeth was a 78-year-old woman. Judith is a 78-year-old woman. And Elizabeth gathers... Yeah, it's ridiculously similar. She gathers together a sort of a coterie of friends to solve light-hearted murders in the home counties. And my Judith gathers together a coterie of friends who solve light-hearted murders in the home counties. But there are lots of differences between the two books. And
so Judith and his is...
Well, he's Elizabeth, and then the other people in the care home or in the old people's home.
Elizabeth and Judith should
they should do it. Well, I don't know. Oh gosh,
a crossover.
I'd wait for Richard to suggest it to me. I think it'd be a bit forward on it. I met him eventually at a party. I don't really go to those sorts of parties, and bless him, he was a +1 at the party, so it wasn't like a fancy party. Because you do know when Richard Osman is in the room,
you can't
you're not going to miss
him.
that.
No.
And so I got introduced to him, and I had to sort of go, look, I'm really sorry. I appear to have copied your book 3 months after your book. And I explained that I was an actual writer rather than... I think he was concerned that my publisher had just hired a hack to just quickly churn out a book.
Oh,
and I was able to say, no, I've been working on
yeah.
this for years and years. And it's going to be part of a series and, maybe we'll do it as a television show. So he went, oh, that's fine.
So he'd obviously heard about it and it was probably a relief for him.
Well, no, he must have had friends who'd gone... your Thursday Murder Club, there's a Marlow. Because mine is named, as I presume his is, after the first Jane Marple story, which was called, I think, the Tuesday Murder Club. Right, it's called something like that.
And do you know the latest? He's moving to Marlow, Richard Osman.
Is he really?
No.
Well, it's funny you should say that. He did talk about maybe moving to Marlow, and I tried to talk... I sort of said... Richard, I'm not sure that you need to move to Marlow, because what I was actually thinking was, I want to be the biggest murder mystery writer in Marlow.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us, Richard.
Yeah. So, yes, he might turn up there. So we'll check in.
What have you been binging on then?
The thing that I've been binging, the problem is that I am an obsessive, passionate lunatic. So I find it very hard for me to give one answer. Hacks has previously been my ultimate binge, and I think it is the greatest show of recent years, about a fading, brilliant Las Vegas female comedian and a young female comedian, and they've both sort of messed up their lives. And what's brilliant about it is the older woman is an absolute monster, and it is so brilliant to see an old woman be a monster on screen. But that's not my answer, because I've binged that most previously, bar one. My wife and I are currently, and I think it's to do with kind of where we are in the world at the moment, and it's a bit sort of scratchy out there. We're revisiting Brothers and Sisters, which is such a good show. And Sisters.
Again with Matthew Rhys, which is in the Agatha Christie
He is
drama.
so beautiful. His eyes. I'm just watching him, and he looks exactly the same age now in Towards Zero as he does back in 2006-ish, I think, when Brothers and Sisters came out. He is so beautiful, and he's the only person you watch on screen. He is so charismatic.
He is a lovely boy.
He's a god. That cannot be recommended highly enough. And you can watch it, here we go, this is a plug here, on the You app for free.
Oh, okay.
So they've rebranded it as You. So You and Drama is what Marlow Murder Club is on.
Which used to be UKTV,
Which used to be UKTV and then became Drama and is now You and Drama. But in order to watch the Marlow Murder Club on catch-up, you have to download onto your smartphone a free app called You. But it also gives you all of this back catalogue of shows, including Brothers. And I was trying to find Marlow Murder Club. I went, oh, hang on, they've got Brothers and Sisters. So I watched that instead.
I forgot about Brothers and Sisters.
It's super.
A brilliant drama. Yeah, you are right. That's a good gem.
Just FYI, Abby Morgan had Hacks as one of her favourite.
Well, yeah, there's not a
well.
writer alive. Because when you see your profession on screen, it's that old joke, isn't it, from the Full Monty when they're watching Flashdance, and he goes, well, that's not how you weld. When you see your profession, it's never right. But by heck, they get being a writer right.
Amazing.
It's a brilliant show.
Shall we do guilty pleasure? And I mean, that could probably fit into a guilty pleasure.
I know it's a good show. It's a brilliant show, I think, in its own right. I would rather that my guilty pleasure was proper guilty. And my guilty pleasure is terrible sci-fi time travel films.
Oh, no.
Now, can you just please... you've got a few options here.
Please, I've never heard of any of these.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow would be number one on the list.
Absolutely amazing.
What is it? it?
Oh, it's so
God,
good.
what's
But do you know what? I used to never remember that because it should have been called Live, Die, Repeat, shouldn't
Yes,
it?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I could never remember when I was recommending it to people.
Yeah.
Is that Tom Cruise?
This is the best Tom Cruise film. It is absolutely
I'm with you,
brilliant.
Harry. But it's fun rubbish. So I'll tell you what, I'll pitch a different one to you, Alex. I was thinking of this on the way in. So Looper,
Yeah.
which is another nonsense film, which is brilliant.
Right.
In 2074, you tell me when you're checking out. Right.
Okay.
In 2074, they've invented.
2074.
You can't check out yet.
In the future.
In the future,
Yeah.
they've invented time travel, but it seems to be now controlled by the mafia, who, when they want to kill someone, they don't kill them in 2074. That'd be too easy. They put them in a time machine and send them back to present-day our time, where Bruce Willis kills them.
No, I'm out.
Wait.
I'm
wait.
so out.
I think I can get you back.
Okay.
Until the day when the person who is sent back to be killed by Bruce Willis is Bruce Willis.
No.
Oh, yes.
Because in the future,
No.
he gets sent back. It's wonderful
That's
nonsense.
horrible.
And that's why it's guilty.
You know what? I'd happily watch that tonight. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just so good.
I wouldn't. I'm really interested with your choice of podcast.
Ah, right, yes. So there are two reasons why I've chosen this. One is because it's absolutely brilliant. It's called You're Wrong About ADHD. So I come from a family that have got sort of ADHD. If you cut through all of us, you sort of get ADHD rock. And it's a brilliant podcast run by two very talented journalists. They do sort of coping strategies. They've been doing it for years, coping strategies. They talk about the neuroscience to do with it. And it's funny and it's engaging and informative, and it's also presented by my wife.
Oh, brilliant.
Obviously, I mean, what's funny is that when I listen to it, I come out of it really well. Because she's really nice about me in public. It's just, when you're at home that you're sort of slightly more, maybe a bit snippy with each other. But
to be fair, I've heard a lot of people talking about this podcast.
Oh, lovely. But she's brilliant on the podcast. She does it with her good friend, Sam. And again, the podcast only came about because they were both in the Classic FM studios waiting to go on, and they discovered they'd both just been diagnosed. And they were talking about, because this is going back a few years. I mean, now it seems to be a more mainstream conversation, but going back a few years, they were just sort of talking about what it meant to them. And Sam doesn't take meds, but Katie does. So they've got different approaches for handling it. And it's just it's a fun, informative podcast, and it's brilliant. And if I didn't choose it, which I might do anyway, I would the keys would be changed on the door and I wouldn't get home.
But I think so many people have been diagnosed as an adult in recent years.
Yeah.
Lots of our friends, and this is a great recommendation.
Yes, well, I think people know somebody who's got ADHD. There's still only 200 and something thousand people in Britain who've been diagnosed, and the feeling is that maybe there's a small percentage of us who have got it. So we're still hundreds of thousands away from the final diagnosis that needs to happen. So it's just there's more of it out there yet to be discovered, and people who can be helped.
I'm going to have a listen to that.
Oh, look, here we go. We've got a graph of
Are
left-handedness.
you left-handed, Harry?
I'm not, no.
No.
I wish I was a left-handed
Tell me.
batter, though.
Oh,
Cricket.
yes.
They're the best, aren't they?
Why?
Yes,
Just
they
because
are.
it's unique.
Just looks cooler.
They're pretty.
Brian
David
Lara,
Gower.
David Gower, Graham Thorpe.
What
Because
does
the
it matter?
ball,
Which
the ball
side?
travels across the front of your body, so that when you hit it, it's a more pleasing angle.
It just looks better.
Right.
We could talk about Edge of Tomorrow if you like.
I think let's go safe territory. Let's
Yeah.
do Desert Island Binge. So
Okay.
a series, a book, a podcast that you would take with you to a desert island.
Okay, now to the book I keep changing on, but I was listening to your episode with Wayne Wogan
Oh, Wayne.
and with Mark Wogan, and he chose all of Dickens.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, hang on, I want an author now that I can take a book, but I can also take the whole body of all of their work as well.
Good idea.
So the book I'd choose, but also with all of the others, there'd be an epilogue, which would be all of their other books, would be Life After Life by Kate Atkinson.
I love that book.
That book is extraordinary, isn't it?
Did you see the BBC drama?
Do you know, right, so I mentioned written by my good friend Bash. Okay, so this is a cell phone. I haven't seen it for the simple reason that I love the book so much. I'm jealous. When I love something, I want it for me and I don't want to share it. And that's weird and odd. And I have to work that through. And maybe I can make a podcast.
Good that you can be honest about it, though.
So I can't. There's lots of books that I won't see the TV show of. And in fact, I should let go and just enjoy somebody else's version of it. But the book, which is about Harry, it's about, I don't know if you don't know, a baby is born on the first page in the first chapter, and at the end of the chapter, they die. And a baby is born.
It's Edge of Tomorrow.
Exactly.
Right.
You see, it's all Edge of Tomorrow. See,
This is not Edge of Tomorrow. Let's just be clear about
and
that.
the story that it tells, it's a multiverse story in effect with the infinite lives. So the first time you meet this child, they die on the day they're born. Actually, I think the second and third times they die again. Every damn time they die. But you eventually follow this person and you see all of these different versions of this life. And she goes through her life making choices and she keeps dying. And it's sort of this story, making it sound like it's horrible, but actually it's a story about what is the version of life that works? Because eventually you get the whole story and you find out what happens to her at the end. But the tour de force within it, I think it's written in 1910-ish. The tour de force is when she describes life in the Blitz in the Second World War. And you're reading it and it feels like a documentary. You go, this is literally what it was like. And yet obviously Kate Atkinson hadn't been alive when the Second World War happened. And then the other books I'd read at the back would be the Jackson Brodie books as well, which is one of the greatest detectives ever made. So she writes proper literature, but they're so engaging and so thoughtful and so interesting.
I'd probably put that in my top 3 books of all time.
Yes, it's extraordinary. As would I. It is, and the process of reading it was so different to anything I'd read before.
Right, what about... Well, we say a box set, but it could be a film.
A box set. Well, so my box set is either a charming answer or ghastly, and you're going to have to...
Charming.
You'll tell me. So the box set I would take, drumroll, is Death in Paradise. Now, but wait, let me explain why, though. So...
Bit of a busman's holiday.
Well, this is where the conversation started. I was so unsuccessful for so long that when the TV show came along, it changed my life. And the kids had just been born. And talking about making quick decisions, I named the guy who's killed in the first episode is named Charlie, because our firstborn is called Charlie. And the one male suspect in that story is called James, because Charlie was 3 years old, Jamie had just been born. So the only 2 male characters who are in that story are Charlie and James. And I did that because I thought, well, they'll never know, because they're like tiny children. They don't speak. They don't know that they've just been put in a TV show. Little did I know that many years later they'd watch it and say to me, hang on, why are the 2 people in that called Charlie and James? And I went, yeah, the show is still going. So what I have found, and I've never rewatched it, I've had to dip in from time to time to check a few things, but the show is the story of my children's lives. And I can remember where I was when I wrote an episode, when we were still living in Greenwich, when we moved out to Marlow. We started off living in Walthamstow. We lived in Walthamstow and left just before it became the most fashionable place. It was like, now that they're no longer here, we can make it really cool and trendy and hip. So it's the story of my life, and I can remember so much. And so it's like a diary. It's like a diary to me.
That's a nice answer.
That's why I would take it.
I think that's acceptable. Yeah.
I like that answer.
I like that too, yeah.
What about podcasts then?
So podcast, obviously you're wrong about ADHD, but if I was to listen to something else, what's hard about this is most of the podcasts that I listen to are sort of newsy. And I absolutely, if I'm on a desert island, the only upside of it is I don't have to listen to the news at all.
Yeah.
So I'd actually be really grateful to have no news-based podcasts on the desert island. There's a really lovely... When I go swimming, that's when I listen to podcasts generally.
In the water?
You can get these things called shocks headphones. They go through your bones of your jaw.
Good
so they're not in your
God.
ear. And you load it up with your podcast, and then you can swim listening to
Where do you
podcasts.
put your phone?
No, it's all loaded into
the headphones.
Yeah.
What
it's an amazing technology. It's extraordinary. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's not even new, is it? I can tell by your face you're thinking,
No,
where the
literally.
heck have you
Yeah.
been?
Grandma over here.
Google it, shocks.
Literally.
SHOKZ. And so I listen to podcasts when I swim, and the one I particularly listen to is a thing called Martini Shot by Rob Long. Now, this is I'll be brief because it can only be of interest to people who are sort of screenwriters or writers. He's a Hollywood writer. He was on Cheers 100 years ago. He wrote the best book on writing ever called Conversations with My Agent. He's very funny, very acerbic, very wise. And every week he produces a 10-minute podcast about what it's like that week in Hollywood, you know.
He updates that.
It does it every week,
okay.
and it's sort of, you know, where are we, you know, with AI? Where are we with, you know, various strikes, you know, projects that he's working on? So as I say, I'll be brief, because if you're not into sort of TV writing or screenwriting, it won't be of huge interest. But the only problem is, because I'm only, again, talking about the rules that I impose on myself, I'm only allowed to listen to it when I'm swimming. I haven't been swimming for a year, so I've got hours and hours of this stuff.
I was going to say a 10-minute swim. I'm not sure that.
But you
counts,
listen.
so.
What I generally listen to is to 2 or 3.
Fine.
Because then you've sort of burnt through that. But the problem is, I haven't been swimming, and I'm not allowed to listen to it when I'm not swimming. Therefore, I've not listened to the show.
Fantastic.
Sounds nice, and I like 10 minutes, short and sharp.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
in and out. 3 lengths.
3 legs.
For me, maybe
You've no
1.5.
idea how slowly I swim.
That's a long 50-metre pool, I'm hoping.
Thank you so much, Robert. That's been such a nice conversation. And the Marlow Murder Club is on You and Drama.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was brilliant. Well, thanks to Robert. That was a lovely chat, wasn't it?
I really enjoyed that. And it's such an insight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Into Death in Paradise, something that's been on our screens, it feels like, forever. And now we know the origin story.
Yeah, I love that. The fact that it was inspired by the death of Bob Woolmer, that's crazy. And also, I loved hearing about his struggles as a writer and how it wasn't until he was 37 when he had that big hit.
It's such a good lesson, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you believe, keep believing.
Is that a quote?
Is that a saying?
Is that a saying? I don't think it is, but we can push it if you want.
Keep believing.
If you believe, keep believing, said the great philosopher Alex Jones.
Thank you.
Right, time to slot in our top recommendations from today's episode. So loads has been mentioned. So obviously, Robert, he's talked about Death in Paradise, the Marlow Murder Club, his wife's podcast, which was called You're Wrong About ADHD. He loves Hacks. What else did he talk about? Our Brothers and Sisters.
Brothers and Sisters, which is obviously came out in 2006, is an oldie but a goodie. Life After Life, which is just a phenomenal book.
And Edge of Tomorrow.
No. Don't
For
be silly.
recommendations, I'm telling you now, it's such a good film. Oh man.
Okay, well if you want to fight for it, you pop it in there.
Okay, well, which one do you want to put in there?
Well,
I feel like we
don't
need
know.
to put one of Robert's in.
I think Death in Paradise or the Marlow Murder Club should go in, right? But because I think we all know what Death in Paradise is, should we not pop in the Marlow Murder Club? Because maybe it's a more interesting recommendation.
Yeah, why not? Okay.
Okay.
The Marlow Murder Club.
All right, fine. So that can go there. Then you want
Edge of Tomorrow.
aliens and shit.
I'm telling you now, next week's Bingies, we're going to have so many messages, people going, Harry, you were right, I watched it, what a fun film, Tom Cruise at his best.
Yeah, well, there'll be equally as many people going, we agree with Alex.
Yeah, but actually, the people that agree with you aren't going to watch it anyway.
No,
so
correct.
Look, I'll just be stoked if
So what's
one
it called?
person watches it and agrees with me, then I'll be happy. Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we've got the Marlow Murder Club, Edge of Tomorrow. God, that is quite a variety so far. Brilliant. Okay, I think we're done. We love to hear about what you are enjoying right now. Email hello@bingepodcastofficial.com or you can WhatsApp us. The number is in the description. Voice notes, very much accepted.
Yeah, Binge is a Viral Tribe entertainment production. Join us next time as we help you sort the binge-worthy from the
Binworthy. Bye.